we'll just talk. This isn't really live, um, and we're going to edit it down to, a few minutes,
Okay,
um, and then we'll launch this when your book is out,
great.
which is right here. So, congrats.
Yay, thanks.
Yeah. Um, so tell me something. I noticed that as the novel opens, Kara Kryzik is having a pretty bad day.
Yeah, it's
Um,
actually pronounced
and
Krizik. The Y is soft.
Kryzik. Okay. And so I liked it that you kind of thrust her right into right into the
Yeah.
problems. Why do you, as a writer, why do you do that?
I think I want to draw the reader immediately into this world. And, there's so many distractions today. People get distracted by email and television and texting. And for me, I think I need a bomb to go off.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you on, it's a ride. A full-length novel is a ride, and I need you strapped into your seatbelt. And I think the best way for me to do that is to immediately let you know that things are not well and make you wonder what's going to happen.
Right. And so, it feels sort of adventurous in that way for the reader. What about you as the writer? I mean, do you outline? Do you know exactly what's going to happen, or is it a bit of a ride for you too as you're
Oh,
writing?
yeah, it's a ride for me. I have tried outlining desperately, but I just my brain doesn't work that way. I don't have that gear. So
Yeah.
I start with a synopsis. I start with a character, and she reveals herself to me as I write the novel. Lots of times I don't know why she makes the choices she makes. I have a destination, and that
Mhm.
destination is a happy ending, a better place. I want my protagonist to end up in a better place. So,
Yeah.
I'm a linear thinker and a linear writer. I start at the beginning and see where the story takes me.
Right. And so, switching to one of your, I guess, maybe hobbies for a second, I hear you're a big fan of junking.
I am.
Yeah. And so, have you been able to introduce that into your work, and is that fun for you?
Yeah, I try not to. I try to let it happen organically when the story calls for it. I try not to just fling junk indiscriminately into a story. Um, the book I did, last year's book, Ladies' Night, my protagonist actually was living with her mom. So at first I thought, now if I were going to do that, how would I do that? It didn't make sense. But one day my protagonist was out. She was out for a run. She was feeling really um, depressed and closed in, and that protagonist went for a run when she got upset. And so she's out for a run, and she sees a house being cleaned out, and seeing that gives her an idea. She stops because she sees, oh, there's a piece of furniture. Maybe I could, a good piece of furniture. It's a shame to throw that out. And the next thing she knows, she's offering to rehab a house. In Save the Date, there's some decorating, there's some descriptions of her decorating, but really in Save the Date, Kara is fighting for her business and fighting for her home because her home is above the shop. So there's not that kind of decorating, but there is a lot of what my editor and I call wedding porn.
That's great. Um, well, speaking of that, I mean, one of the things that I admire about you is that writers that I know, you just seem to get your reader, kind of intimately, and you seem to have this connection with your readership, in the sense that you know what they're going to want and what they might be interested in. Um, and, and I wondered, is that feel more innate to you?
I think it probably is innate to me. I'm an extrovert, and for me the fun part of I tell people the fun part of what I do is getting to go out and meet readers and people who love books, because a lot of them like the same kinds of things I like. The hard part, I say, well, that, meeting people and doing signings and all that, that's the chocolate cake. Staying at home, trying to figure out what happens next, how to make it all work, that's the lima beans. But you don't get the chocolate cake unless you eat the lima beans. So, I'm not going to write a book about an astrophysicist because I don't know crap about astrophysics. And I might have readers who care about that, but it's too far. It's too much of a stretch for me. So my characters lots of times have things in common with me. They are not me, but I get them, and I think, in this, we're in a completely different age than we were when I started writing fiction. In 1999, I think I started writing fiction. You wrote a book, you published it, it might come out a year, 18 months later, and maybe you would get a fan letter, or maybe you would get a note from somebody saying, hey, you got it all wrong. With social media, I know, people have already posted reviews of Save the Date. Now, it hasn't pubbed yet, but they've already started posting reviews because they've gotten hold of advanced readers' copies. And so I have a very good handle right away about what my readers like and what they don't like, and ultimately, they're the critics that matter to me. And I talk to them back and forth. I go on Facebook and I say, hey, what would you do if this happened? Or I'll say, I have a character, she's this age, how would she react to something? And so I enjoy that interaction, and it's very helpful to me.
Yeah, and you take their suggestions sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right. Tell me what journalism, I mean, you were a journalist before. What has journalism taught you about being a good fiction writer?
I think one of the most important gifts journalism gave me was the ability to listen, and to listen carefully. Because when you're a reporter and you ask questions and people answer, you've got to get it right. You've got to be accurate before you quote somebody. And it also teaches you to be a good observer, because asking people questions and writing down their answers isn't enough. If you're interviewing a shifty politician, for instance, you need to look at the expression on their face and try to gauge, are they telling me the truth? Are they giving me the brush off? Is there something more here that I'm not getting? So I think listening and observing and being aware of the setting for where a story happens are really helpful to me. And the ability to research. I'm not afraid to call a stranger up and say, tell me about Florida divorce law, or hey, can I hang out in your florist shops, and can you tell me how to save hydrangeas that are half dead? It teaches you how to write, that you have to write no matter what. There is no muse in journalism. There's just an angry editor looking over your shoulder and staring at the clock. And my editor is no longer an angry editor in the same room, but I know she's there. So the deadline, and I think knowing story structure. Being a journalist helps you know beginning, middle, end, story structure, which is so important, especially in commercial fiction.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of that there's no muse in journalism, we still think there is one in fiction, and you've been blessed, I would say, by having a pretty prolific career. Not, more writers would want that. What's your writing schedule like so that you're able to publish, pretty routinely?
Right now I publish a book a year. Last year was a 2-book year, and it nearly killed me. My writing schedule is erratic. Right now we're getting ready for Save the Date. We're doing a lot of social media. We're planning 2 different launch parties. I'm working with my editor on the idea for next year's book. On a good day, when I'm in the book, I roll out of bed, grab my laptop, and sit up in bed. And I give myself quotas. And so a great quota is 2,000 words, which is about 10 double-spaced manuscript pages. And if I can get that, I feel like, okay, I'm in the story now. I'll stop and check email and take care of business, which includes social media, which is ever present. I might run errands, and my goal when I'm writing and I'm in the book is and my head is in the book, which is a hard place to get to, is a chapter a day. And when it's going well, I can do more than that. When I finished Save the Date, I'd blown my deadline by 5 months. So in that case, I ran away to write. I went down to Savannah where we have a beach house, and I holed up, and I told my husband I'll be back when the book is done. So I was there about a month, and the last 2 weeks I was there, I probably wrote 150 to 200 pages to finish the book off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So husband
don't
gets
recommend
banished.
It's not a pace I recommend. But desperation is sometimes a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're respected as a summer reading kind of writer. What are a beach read? What are the ingredients, would you say, of a good summer read?
I think a protagonist that you care about, that you root for, an interesting setting, some romance, pace. I think I don't think readers at the beach need a leisurely pace. I think they want to keep turning the pages and wondering what happens next. So for me, a beach read is fast-paced. It's got an interesting setting. It's got characters that you root for. And for me and my readers, I think they like some romance. I try to throw in some mystery, a little bit of suspense. There's a little bit of suspense in this story. It's not, it's not criminals jumping out of closets. It's more like, is this wedding going to come off or not? And what will happen? Sort of small questions in Kara's life.
Yeah. So can you give us a hint of what's next for you?
I just today signed contracts for 2 more books with my amazing editor, Jennifer Enderlin at St. Martin's Press. So we're talking about next year's book. I have a title. The title usually comes very early for me. Lots of times the title drives the story. In this case, I have a title which I do not want to disclose.
Okay.
And, here's the deal. It used to be if you had a title, your book would come out a year later and nobody else would steal your title. Today, if somebody else gets my title, they can EPUB a book tomorrow. And then when people go look for my book, they find a book that might not be by me or anybody like me. So it's a story whose idea came from pop culture, recent pop culture events.
Okay.
And it was one of those phone calls I had with my editor where we were laughing and ridiculing something we'd read in the media, some very funny pop culture thing. And I started saying, well, what if this? What if that? And so that's going to be next year's book, I think.
Oh, great. Well, that gives us a little bit of a hint.
Yeah.
So thank you. Well, great, Mary Kay. As you know, we really enjoyed the novel over here at Kirkus, and want to thank you for your time, and we'll launch this around Pub Date.
I appreciate it. Great to talk to you.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.